Well, hello there. This is Dr. Ted Kaufman with Dr. Ted Talks, and we are continuing our journey through the book We. The section we share with you today is called Parables. The master noticed his sweaty palms as he delivered the eulogy for a town dignitary. Then he sent himself back for more training at the monastery to remember that no one person is more important than another. A friend was proud of his 7 flat screen TVs, and I asked him if it was worth not having created a family. He said yes. I was happy for him. You can have near anything you want in life, just not everything. So good choices count. How to speak without words. A patient told me of her father. He used to sit at the table with his shoulderless t-shirt. One day her mother came in and sat down in just a bra. My patient said Dad never wore just his t-shirt at the table again. Speaking without words. I raised my 2 older kiddos as a single dad. My daughter always helped me make the spaghetti, and I reminded her to always put the love in from a spice can we had with the name Love on it, but no visible ingredients. She would sprinkle in a generous amount, and we would proudly feast on the spaghetti. I gave her that can as a wedding present 2 decades ago, and it still sits proudly on her kitchen range. She and her husband raised an amazing family on our special spaghetti, and I would bet money that someday that can will sit on my granddaughter's range as she and her daughter cook Gramps' special sauce. Leo Biscaglia, the famed love professor at California University, shared a story of a college co-ed who left a note that if anyone smiled at her as she walked across campus that day, she would not commit suicide. He tearfully read her note to the class. Billy told his mom he was going over to Mr. Williams' house because he had just lost his wife of 50 years. When Billy returned, she asked him what he did to help Mr. Williams. He said, I just helped him cry, and we ate cookies. We were at my table when an adult guest spilled his drink. Fear and embarrassment flooded into his face. I quickly smiled and said, we celebrate spills here. It was as if his inner child looked up with a most amazing smile. Relief. A skydiver tied his chute in a knot before he jumped to experience a failed chute. He pulled his reserve and never worried again that he would choke in an emergency. I still don't recommend it. He was born in 1946 in a tenement housing. He's now a celebrated artist with a studio on the 46th floor in downtown Chicago. He is an astronaut. When our astronauts were on the way to the moon, they were off course about 95% of the time. NASA had to keep making a 1 or 2 degree adjustment to teach our desired destiny. All we need is a little attitude adjustment, if you will, in which case the sky may not be the limit. To my dear mother, as you finish your last great journey to be with my fabulous father, I'm sorry I have not come close to repaying you for all you have given me these many years. But I promise not to keep it to myself. I will display and share the same love, kindness, faith, joy, commitment, devotion, appreciation, humor, intellect, and generosity to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren that you have so lavishly bequeathed me. My dad used to sell alfalfa bales to semi-truck drivers, and he always put a free row of hay on top of the tarp to help hold the tarp down. He told me those truckers could buy hay anywhere, and I want them to be sure and know how much I appreciate their business. Dad was my greatest example of the value of going the extra mile. I accept that winners play from the accountability demonstrated by the archer's target. At level 1, the inner circle, they are responsible for what they are, have, and do. At level 2, the next outer circle, they are responsible for the success of others. And at level 3, they assume responsibilities for others, taking responsibilities for the success of others. A world that works is in the inevitable outcome, the ultimate pyramid scheme. Prince Harry calls himself spare. I suggest he is not in the trunk of a car waiting to get in the game of his life, but he would need to alter his thinking to see it. Perhaps he could offer us spare change, that he and we might follow his example of making the most of life. This is a statement I wrote about my boyhood time on the ranch. It's called, "It's in the Toolbox, Use It." In the back of any barn or tack shed on any ranch, there are usually at least 4 toolboxes that help get the ranch work done. One is for taking care of horses in the remuda. It has a curry comb, a brush, some hoof picks, and a rasp to file down the horse's hooves. It has a nail trimmer, fly spray, a leather punch, a hammer, some horseshoes with a smattering of horseshoe nails. Those tools help keep the horses in good shape. Anytime I needed to work on the horses and I was a little hesitant to get to it, I would drag my feet until my dad would say, "What's up?" meaning, "What's the delay?" Not infrequently, I would justify my hesitation in getting to the work by saying, "I can't find the tool I need." He would smile and say unassuredly, "It's in the toolbox. Use it." Another toolbox is for fixing farm or ranch equipment or machinery or just building or destroying things. It has hammers, screwdrivers, pliers, vice grips, hacksaws. It has a few socket wrenches with some of the sockets missing, some open-ended and closed-end hexagonal wrenches for nuts and bolts, and a punch and a chisel and a plane and a ratchet set, and a level or two to help you build on the square. I only knew how to proficiently use the hammer, but I was pretty good at that. Dad had a higher vision for me, so he continued to remind me, a man's work is a portrait of who he really is. I guess I wasn't much the first 12 years on that ranch, but I grew up and learned to get the right tool and do your best. Dad reminded me regularly, "It's in the toolbox. Use it." There's another specialty toolbox that is a medical kit for vet and stock. It houses vaccine that don't need refrigeration, syringes, stethoscope, a sharp knife for castrating calves and notching ears in the fall. It holds salves, ointments, bag balm, a little bottle of DMSO for sore joints on man or beast, and a small can of tar substance to prevent infection and stop the bleeding that comes with castrating and dehorning at Roundup. There's no time to delay when working cattle, and not infrequently Dad's insightful, masterful voice would call out, "It's in the toolbox. Use it." The last box is not so obvious, and many people do not even realize they have it. You don't need a barn to have this toolbox. It's the one that comes with us at birth, and it is available to us our whole life through. And it has all the tools we need to create a happy, healthy life, or to repair one that has wound up in shambles. It holds the magnificent tools of a human body, time, and the magnificent power of choice. These three tools allow us to create a spectacular life. They are our gifts coming in, and what we do with them is our thanks for having been given the gifts at birth. These tools allow us to make the choices that shape our destiny by directing our thoughts, words, and deeds on a daily basis. Choosing love, peace, harmony, nurturing, kindness, joy, truth, and perseverance, and the actions sponsored by those emotions create one destiny. Choosing hate, fear, anger, jealousy, upset, frustration, and the actions sponsored by those emotions wind up completely different. My father has long since left the ranch on that windy, hot, dusty plains of western Kansas. But anytime I feel sorry for myself or forget that I came in with every tool I need for building a happy, successful, satisfying life, it is as if I hear the wise, loving, booming voice of my earthly father calling out in his proud, sage, fatherly voice saying, "It's in the toolbox. Use it." Now, apparently, obviously, appropriately, we go into parenting. As a parent, I now realize that not long ago my parents once lived inside my life. Why do we feel the need to wait to get mad before we discipline our children? We can instill value and gain compliance without anger. When driving, you need to focus on what is before you, the future, more than anything else in life that has important exceptions. Notice where you are while you are still there. Be here now. Parenting without patience is like skydiving without a chute. I was asked if I were an optimist, a pessimist, or a realist. I said, I want to be a magician. Once upon a time is still enticing to children of every age. Michelangelo chiseled away at everything that wasn't David until David was the only thing left standing. Then he polished the masterpiece. What if we did the same thing with ourselves and our kiddos? The parent who believes you can't be best friends with your child is missing half the joy. There are multiple hats: coaching, teaching, preaching. Parenthood might be the grandest feeling of all, unless, of course, you count those brief, wonderful moments of being alone before you were a parent. We all remember those. Quality time with your children requires some time to pass before it qualifies as such. 10 minutes doesn't count much, no matter how good it is. Records show us that the average father spends 7 minutes a day of one-on-one time with each child. I thought I was reasonably intelligent until I had a conversation with my 3-year-old. To create a champion, celebrate your child's mistakes before you lovingly correct them. Then they won't be afraid to try new, fearing things. Parenthood lasts beyond the first 18 years. It's a lifetime commitment. The day my first child was born, I canceled my subscription to the newspaper that I might not miss the day's most important and urgent news. Really listening to your child may be the greatest gift you give your child. It says, "I see you." You count. I love you. Your child knows you are really listening when you physically get down on their level. Your child's hand in your hand is comforting to both parties. Parents' measured resistance to their teenager is the chrysalis with which teens must strengthen their wings. Nothing says, I love you, like the sound of running feet and a hi, Daddy, just before a welcoming hug. Yell at your kids when they are little, and they will grow up to yell back at you. This is Dr. Ted with Dr. Ted Talks. Thank you for joining us here on the Crystal Star Ranch, high on the western slope of the Rocky Mountains. We appreciate you being with us, and we ask you to touch that I like button or that subscription button if you haven't. It costs nothing, and it helps our sponsor to help us. We appreciate you guys, and for those of you who haven't been told you're loved today, we love you today. It's time to go feed the horses, so I'm signing off. Until then, I wish you all a happy day and a beautiful life.